South Central.
Okay.
Too.
Yeah.
Just
And I
how
like the
much?
Southwest. And I have some.
If the Southwest can put something on, can the
Big old
money to the South Central.
Okay, because this is for Noah, and Noah's interested in funding a bigger project if we can get stuff at the workshop.
I need you
Okay.
sometime
That-
during
that
the
would be good.
seminar.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, hey, yeah, just send me a budget and what's up.
Go on your
Okay.
phone and see the
Okay.
live
I'm
feed
serious.
working.
Okay.
On the phone?
Good.
Yeah,
Me too.
Yeah, those are the kinds of things that they should fund.
Okay.
How much are you looking for?
There you go, Ben. How you doing?
That's what I was at. Yeah, that should be fine. I was even going to go 5:30, 30.
Starting strong, hopefully.
Just to get people
How's
there and make
yours?
it worthwhile.
Oh, yeah. I think so too.
Come on. Okay.
There's two. Only one of them on campus.
Because I like the stuff
Doing
you're talking
one
about.
would be your own
Yeah.
That was really
another one.
I wanted to tell you about it. That's
I
I'm
appreciate
telling you about it now.
No, I know, I agree 100%.
It's only
It's
on
good,
Thursday
it's good.
nights,
I
so
appreciate what you're
it's pretty good.
talking
What do I search for?
No, that day I
I
was.
under- I
So
understand.
What are you calling it?
you helped. Thank you.
Alan?
Alan, right?
No, that's Robert. That's Robert.
Where's Alan? Alan still's not here yet?
No.
Sam.
He said feel calm.
You talked to Alan? Okay, good.
Maybe
And we're
I
meeting
knew
with you
him
this
for a long
afternoon.
time.
Oh, you did? Okay, awesome. But Alan.
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
just,
nice.
I'm YouTubing it live.
Oh,
It's a little delayed.
It's on right
Scott
now.
Ventures, so. Hi, Scott.
Okay, turn it up.
It works.
Yeah, that's our speaker next to you. So.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Brock invited us. Brock invited us to watch a movie. That's recording too.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks. I'm recording as well, so yeah. But not the live. I'm after. Not the live one right now.
You can wait for us. Please watch us. And if there are questions on there, you can ask them.
Charlie, did you want to say something too, or? Is that, no, you don't have to. At the end, you have to. At the end, you have to. Yeah. Okay, we're good.
We'll leave you alone there.
Just ask on this video. Just ask here.
No. Yeah, actually, it's not real science page. That's why you watch.
Sure.
Okay, everyone, we're gonna get going. So, the first thing I wanted to point out for you was our Science by the Glass is next Tuesday. We switched to Tuesdays this semester. And we have two guest speakers coming in from USDA, Sarah and Clayco. And they'll be speaking on the Climate Change Caucus, Money, Politics, and Religion. A conversation you shouldn't have in mixed company. So it should be pretty exciting, I think. So hopefully you can all come there. It's at Fox and Hound, and there's food and drinks and all that. So this is the first time doing our panels for the Climate Science Center seminars. And we're very lucky to have George Watson here, who is going to moderate all of the panels for us today. And hopefully else. So I'm going to turn it over to George. Thank you everyone for coming. It's a really great turnout.
Thank you, Dr. Vanos. It's my honor to help moderate this panel on the interdisciplinary seminar series. We've got four very distinguished experts here who hopefully will provide us with a lot of useful and information. So I want to introduce one, and after I introduce each one of our panelists, they'll give a brief description or a brief presentation on their expertise and how big data ties in with climate change. So first up is Sean Wang. He's a professor of geography and geographic information science, computer science, library and information science, and urban and regional planning. Here's just a show off with all those degrees. At the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, which I actually know some people from up there. He's also the founding director of the Cyber GIS Center and Advanced Digital and Spatial Studies. Everybody, Sean Wang.
Thank you very much, George. My slides. Well, thanks for coming during lunch hour, and please work on the 19th question, and it's an honor to be on this panel. Particularly a pleasure to be with the panelists I know for quite a while. As colleagues and friends, all these panelists, it's a pleasure. And I will talk a little bit about this big data and in particular related to climate science. If I can move this. Big data now is a reality. It was argued to be the fourth paradigm by a number of scientists and computer scientists. And it's a reality to stay with us, and the bad news is coming too fast. It's data flood. And basically, we now are facing tremendous challenges as Illinois system schools. They're using computers, but they're not having the right capacity to deal with the big data. But from the opportunity side, as you might recall, this was the web browser creation that happened when internet started booming. And we believe, for those of us who are trying to tackle the big data challenges, we were at that time again for very dramatic innovation costs. Just as this web browser was created to share information for the scientists conducting simulations, getting their data out, that got the opportunity of developing this web browser at the National Center for Security Applications. And this is an organization I'm affiliated with at UC, primarily funded by NSF. And it was a place where Mosaic web browser was developed. Who was aware of Mosaic? Wonderful. This was always used by CSC to argue to NSF if we invest more, we'll deliver more trillions of dollars impact on society from basic research on technology and science. Another argument I'm going to make is that geospatial big data are special. Through common language of geospatial data characteristics were about Earth measurements of all kinds, uncertain accurate. A lot of times, some measurements for some kinds of polymers are purposed for different purposes. You really need to be careful, especially in the context of climate science. For instance, surface measurements for Earth might not be appropriate for climate science simulations or different kinds of regions. Conversations like that. So the variety of geospatial big data, they are very exciting, but they're also special. You know, like you may, there are so many different types of geospatial data. You are all geospatial. You might have recognized through your mobile phones. And there are sensors, there are drones, remote satellites. So geospatial data is everywhere around us. And the climate for the human population. Now talk a little bit about what we do at Illinois related to what you are considering here and you are moving into the future. We, as George mentioned, have had this CyberGIS center. CyberGIS, in a simple term, is the new generation geographic information systems of science in the context of big data. Through leveraging big compute. One thing I want to highlight is a lot of folks got excited about big data challenges and opportunities, but not so much about big compute, which is the other side of the coin of big data. Without big compute support, we cannot go too far into big data for knowledge discovery. So CyberGIS is to leverage that big compute for fostering big collaboration for problems like climate science. They're oftentimes complex. We cannot deal with from a single domain perspective. So we're addressing complex problems in the development and innovation of the new generation geographic systems. We tend to refer to CyberGIS. There are multiple other ways to refer to this new innovation. But the whole idea is we have tremendous opportunities as looking from those domains for driving the discovery and innovation, but we also see very fast advances of different technologies. And the geospatial realm we have in the middle tie this together through critical spatial thinking for guiding the innovation of technology, for digital transformation across very broad spectrum to enable innovation and discovery. Across, again, a number of domains. And all of the domains that I have here are closely related to climate systems. So I want to share with you a personal story. This is a recent study published on Proceedings in National Academy of Sciences I was part of. So about 7-8 years ago, a bunch of crop scientists and biologists came to me and said, Shaun, I have stacks of CDs for you. And we want to analyze such data. They are crop yields data, weather data, solar radiation, ozone data, soil data. And they want to understand how ozone, not only just at a laboratory scale, but also across multi scales of environment, will have impact on crop yield in the United States. In the literature, this was not comprehensively assessed. But the bad news is we gave you this stacks of CDs and URLs. We have to synthesize all this data together for multiple decades. So that pushed me to develop some capabilities I was talking about to deal with geospatial data using supercomputing, high performance computing data, get to this kind of discovery. And my argument is we have to do more. There are a lot more geospatial questions counting on our capabilities to wrestle with geospatial data. And that is going to be very exciting for knowledge discovery inside the grid. So the CyberGIS Center was put together by the contributions of this unit of UIC. As you can tell, just like climate science is very linear and transdisciplinary. The units at UIC contribute financial resources to establishing CyberGIS could draw a parallel here, your climate science center is moving in similar direction. And I'm glad to see this product come here and get quality. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Wayne. Next up will be Alan Seal, who is the Interim Senior Director and the Senior Scientist at the High Performance Computing Center here at Texas Tech, where he also holds positions as the Site Director for the U.S. National Science Foundation, Cloud and Atomic Computing Industry University Cooperative Research Center, and he's also an adjunct professor of physics. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Alan Seal.
How many in the room are HPCC users here at Texas Tech? A lot of you. So you will forgive me that I have not culled my slides from many talks down into slides because I've been busy getting you. But I will do a few things by browsing the website. If someone has to do that, Sure. There's a long list of titles there. Let me just sort of shorten them for you. I'm actually an active particle physics researcher here at Texas Tech. I helped start the particle physics group here with Professor Wickmans in 1992. We went on to find the top quark and to find the Higgs boson. Maybe you've heard of the Higgs boson. I'm proud of that work. In the process of doing that, I found myself tangling with folks at this location. You'll find that I have one obvious limitation. I cannot type and talk at the same time. I can only do one thing at a time, which is why I'm busy getting a cluster up. I ran across these folks that were running something called a high-performance computing center. I said, that sounded interesting, and this was about 1997. We found the top, and we, in the process, learned to use clustered computing in a way that hadn't been used before. Let me tell you how that went. We were busy using up the Amdahl and the fax clusters and the IBM AIX workstations we had. How many people recognize any of those things? Okay. And along came a friend of mine and said, we built a Linux cluster. I said, what did you do that for? He said, no, trust me, it would be good. And now, years later, the vast majority of the world's computing gets delivered in this way. And in clusters very similar to that. But it took us a while to clue in. We built first 100 or so cores. Remember those days? A core was a computer. It was a one computer and one core, one computer. You didn't even use the word core, you called it CPU. And then we built a couple hundred of them. We thought this was pretty good. And one day we built 1,000 of them in one room. Now at the time, Beowulf clusters were a rarity, a kind of an oddity in research labs in the 90s. And all of a sudden, we put lots of machines in one place and had them do the thing. And they were way cheaper, way cheaper. Well, along the way, Tim Berners-Lee reinvented the World Wide Web and stuff like that. It just sort of came along for the ride. Suddenly, we found ourselves in a world where people all over the world wanted to collaborate on clustered computing. And we had built one of the biggest ones ever in existence. It was called the unimaginatively the Collider Detector at Fermilab is the name of the detector detecting collisions at Fermilab. So the Collider Detector at Fermilab had the unoriginal name of the CDF analysis facility, or CAF. And all of a sudden, people wanted to build these things all over the world. Caffeine jokes were popular then because Java was in vogue, and so we called it the decaf. And I got put in charge of telling people how to duplicate this big cluster all over the world. The first example I'm aware of large-scale cluster computing being used uniformly throughout the world for one task. So I had a web page. Remember the web? We invented that. Really did, it wasn't outdoor. And he's done other good things in this context. There was a web page that said, here's how we did it. Do exactly this. If you do exactly this and you have problems, here's my email address before someone. If you don't do exactly this, have a nice day. And people all over the world, we found this helped us solve a problem, a science problem, which was how to get lots of computing on one problem. We didn't have enough money or resources to build bigger clusters, but we found people would willingly build these things all over the world so they can have their pictures taken with the beacon in front of them. And then they would contribute them to our science test. We said, this is great stuff. We got to do more of this. So we made more of these web pages. And that became something called the Grid. Carl Kesselman and Ian Foster and others at Argonne, Chicago, started going on and giving some theoretical talks about this thing called the Grid, utility computing. You might plug into the wall and you just have a grid. It was a spectacular success and spectacular failure at the same time. It's a great concept. I'll tell you why that was a failure. But it really worked. So they added a theoretical construct onto this thing we were doing. We reacted like this. We said, we're already doing that. They said, yes, but. And so we had a conversation like that for 2 or 3 years. Then we realized they were right. If we could do things the same way for multiple fields of science, just as we've done them for our field, and serve multiple needs at once, we could have a fantastic thing. And so we went from building clusters like this to do this at the same time. To this, with the science grid, and its equivalents all over the world. This was great computing. This was essentially large-scale collaborative cluster computing for multiple fields of science at once. Same tools, multiple fields of science, right? Am I getting it right? Someone? Yeah. Someone help with this. That's all my Okay, so this was cool, and it actually still is cool, and it still works. Why did I call it a failure? Well, see, we were really concerned about a few things. We were building the world's most powerful computer clusters, and we were tying them together. It's a whole paragraph about Paragrid and Exceed, and we'll get to it. But this was basically the idea: collaborative cluster computing for multiple fields of science. We didn't really want these things being used for like selling pharmaceuticals or sending these bad emails. So we really locked them down. You had to get an individual X519 certificate. You know when you log into your bank and the little icon turns green? You know, lock. That level of authentication for every single scientist. We built an organization that could get you that level of certificate. Wherever you are in the world, called now it's called the Interoperable Global Trust Foundation. So anywhere in the world, if you're a scientist, you get one of these certificates. And then, remember I talked to you about Exceed and Paragrid? Well, these became the supercomputer equivalents of this. It was a little rough start where they didn't really want to be sort of cowboys and use the sort of thing. We beat up on them for a while until they did this fantastic, wonderful project called Exceed. And you need to know about our local cluster. I won't talk to you all. You need to know about Open Science Grid, and you need to know about Exceed to do your work. If you don't know about any of those things, you need to learn about it because they're resources for you. And showing us how to create some of these, and they are fantastic. They are collaborative, shared, multi-science facilities at the highest scale of computing. So what Science Group did for sort of moderate scale clusters, Exceed does on the worldwide basis for supercomputers. And your climate modeling comes from these resources. Now, where do we fit into this stuff? We have a cluster just the other side of this wall. We've got maybe about 10,000 cores in that room. We've got a couple thousand cores at a couple different other locations. And when we do that, I do that as very clearly and deliberately a stepping stone in this architecture of computing. From your desktop up to the scale of computing. We like to be the place where you go in and ask a question, and no matter what the scale of your computing is, we can help you with it. Right? And I always tell people, Sheldon, have you heard me say it yesterday? In IT, I'm now employee of the IT division, but still part of the we get two kinds of issues. We get the angry ones, and we get the apologetic ones. The angry ones, it almost always has something to do with email. And we have another whole number, 742 help. You can call that number, they will help you. It's very similar to our number. The last digit is different, but it's a different number, and so that takes care of the angry users. We get the apologetic users. You come in the door and say, I'm sorry, I'm trying to compile this stuff. Always got to success. I'm sorry. So I call those the apologetic. Don't be apologetic. Don't scale your question to what you think we can provide. We've been at this a while. We know talented people like the people in this room all over the world. Tell us what you're trying to do. We'll try to get you connected to the right scale of computing, and that's what I would say.
Thank you, Dr. Steele. So when Skynet takes over and my new pickup truck tries to kill me, I'm going to come and blame you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Next up, and please, I hope I asked him before, so I hope I won't butcher his name. Gufang Chen, or Chao, excuse me.
Yeah.
Say I told you I would. He's an assistant professor in the Department of Geosciences here at Texas Tech. He's worked in the Cyber Infrastructure and Geospatial Information Laboratory, and his research involves geographic information science, and the application of formal, visual, and geospatial techniques. Dr. Chao. Look for your deals. I just minimize them all.
The cyber infrastructure, the laboratory of cyber infrastructure and geographic information science actually in Seoul's lab. I worked with one or 2 years before I get there. And to the other hand, so when mentioned providing some, from different angles, providing from people view and high profile. And what I'm going to do here is actually providing some that specific example of project I'm working on. What kind of big data related project I have reviewed. And we have a geospatial singer here as well. This project is back here. So the first one, the first part of the data we're dealing with. So the first part of the data I'm going to be talking about is location-based social media. And so I'm going to move it to now it's on the everything is mobile and you post everything on the internet or access to physical computer. We expose your lot of information, including your location information, and many others, right? Like the name, and your mood, your health status, and what activity you're conducting, and what food have you been taking, and in McDonald's compared to some other great restaurants. Probably going to be indicating some of your socioeconomic status or health status, right? And then most importantly, including the location. So we can actually get some ideas or get some samples right? And for some work I'm done, part of the work I'm done doing here is actually what I did one couple of years ago. So the basic one, the most basic one that I mentioned is the location campaign approach. Collecting the information from millions of the social media users. So very basic one we can track to the people at the moment. So we take here today and tomorrow we take back in Dallas, so we can basically see there's one movement actually from here to Dallas. Right? And then we're collecting all the data real timely, right? So, and then we kind of the good thing about this sort of data is also not just good thing that the individual level. So we can track it down to the data to the individual level. So we kind of so we can aggregating them, looking at that social movement of human mobility. On the right-hand side, just to give you an example, is that the people moving up from the Los Angeles airport to where during the 1 week time windows where they hanging out today, right? And this one is still the same location, still the same time window, but it's just looking from the neighborhood level to the continent level, right? So it's a very small neighborhood level, and then going to the whole North American area where the people landed in LAX, where we meet up in a couple of days. the back end, of course, is lots of computation going on here to streamline the data, to analyze the data, and then visualize that. There's lots of computing technology going on in the back end. So I'll just show you some experience of it, what I did. Right? So good thing that, so this is basic movement, right? And good thing that I learned earlier, there's lots of information about when you post material. Right? You post your status about how healthy you are and socioeconomic status related. You can mining, using some text mining thing to make a best guess about this information. Right? So you can see there's some back end, there's some density map. This density map actually is flu related. So we focus on the flu because you create like the medicine you were using or like some flu related symptoms, runny nose or cough, something like that. We can actually, using some text mining thing can somehow track your chance that you already have the flow, right? So the back end, the redder the object you see, the more things, the higher chance that you flow is actually, right? And when you combine it with the flow, with the traffic flow, and then you're gonna bring out some public health practitioners, probably some ideas where there's lots of persons moving from the high dense area to the green area, probably the green area where there's lots of persons carry around the virus moving to the top, right? And then also based upon this data, we also actually do the climate science panel. So we also investigating how the weather, how the environmental change, what different kind of weather actually going to be affecting this the flow density. And what kind of weather actually be more positive impact or increase in the flow activity or decrease in the flow activity. If we combine this, that's the terminology describing it. So technology combining basically getting the data. If you work in the house area, you know the data is very hard to get. Very difficult. So in the future, by analyzing this online data, so providing some alternative data source. Based upon this data, we can connecting the climate management to see the interactions between the environment and so this is a flu case. Another case I'm doing is tracking the Ebola case. Right? The 2014. We just track the keyword related and using some text mining thing, and you can see the temporary cases align pretty well with the Ebola deaths. Three or two cases of Ebola in 2014. And this is temporal wise, and this is spatially wise. This one, I think, September 13th is the one in Dallas, the first case has been diagnosed. And then you're going to spread it to the Vietnam. We follow the target. So, yeah, these are some applications that we can do for using this. And then another question you might need to ask is that, so how is predictive? Right? We're doing the social media data to the analysis, but the truth is that the thing that how these social data are impacting us reality, how we capture the video demographic or health information. One I'm doing, we are doing is actually, we're using the beyond the using the name, all the textual relating to the name and your the post that have been posted. You can figure out what's roughly can guess what is the reads going to be, what the reads or identity or the political your Democrat or Republican. These are the socioeconomic status based upon your post. This one is the actually was redeemed for the Chicago case. Actually, mining this map actually for different race and ethnic group. The red one for the white person diagnostic for the people, and then the green one is actually for the black population, and then there's the Asian population. I think that if you get near to Chicago, it roughly match well with the population distribution. I mean, that one is we getting from the age, and that one is getting from the gender. And another case, we try to investigating the buyers, potential buyers of the media data actually for the presidential campaign case, because we tracking one person for a very long period of time, we can roughly get an idea of what your physical thing is, red or slow. And we focused on the Ohio State, the state of Ohio, and we collecting like the 2012, year of 2012, because that year is the first year that feeder data has been valued. So then analyzing the red and blue, and all the home locations of the red to the blue jelly, this one is the red jelly. We compare it to the reality because we already know the results, and then we combine it based upon the county data. And we did the right hand side one is actually the real voting result. The right hand is actually what we get based upon. You can see the blue is actually more, little bit more over representation. Blue to representation, right? Are the Democrats or left one to treat more than the Republicans. Yeah, there's some ongoing work dealing with the location-based and there's in the geospatial. I'm a GIS guy. So we did some authoritative foundational data, like measurements, ecological measurements, or different kind of movements, unit product, something like that. But this is the typical big data. If you look at the movie data, and we get it a lot of data every day. But the thing that as a researcher, if you sit down at a desk and dealing with one particular problem, you will see the data. There's a lot of data and available, but the data is not very well consistent. It's pretty continuous. Probably lots of missing data and probably different kind of fields how to be combined. Just providing you some very quick examples of keeping the sort of continuity figuring of this continuous field. One is that we're using like remote sensing data and monitoring station data, including the measures of PM particular matter for 2.5. This is actually providing a very high spatial resolution, and we did that our top goal using the model data, different kind of model data and the Landsat data, and also the ground truth. And another one I want to tell you very briefly talk to you about is that the Oglala water. For these cases, we have been collecting data for more than 30 years. Lots of the wells spreading around in this area. I mean, for each well, the data is actually pretty much. Sometimes we have a lot of data, sometimes probably not. Right? How we combine this data spatially and to making a map that's complete. Right? Yeah, that's basically the work that I feel related to big data. We also do some computation and dealing the uncertainty of the data. Okay, I'll probably be over using my time.
Dr. Shaw, I think I can personally relate to the flu research. Every time I get on the plane, I get sitting next to the guy that's got the flu. So I can drink a gallon of orange juice and thermal. It doesn't matter when we get it. So. Our final panelist is Patricia Solis. She is a senior research associate and research development team, a research associate professor of geography, and she is the adjunct associate professor for the Climate Science Center here at Texas Tech. Her research involves geographic technologies, climate change, right here, sustainable development, water resources, and geography as a discipline for higher education. Ladies and gentlemen,
I am actually not a big data scientist, but perhaps this is confirmation of how important big data has become, that even non-data scientists have to recognize the idea of big data. And I think it has become more and more a revolution, and not just a technological revolution, but a social revolution. It's advancing without me. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that part of it, and I'm going to be very brief because there'll be plenty of time for talking. But it's a social revolution in the sense of our relation to each other, and it's sort of one of the iterative process where it is created by the social revolution, but also contributes to some revolutionary things in our society to think about big data. So I wanted to talk about some of our responsibilities and opportunities related to that. And I'm inspired by a group of students. They're all wearing Texas Tech shirts. In Panama, I did a tech camp for high school kids. In Panama, there are 10 US students, 30 Panamanian students there. And we discovered this irony in our work that we were traveling all over the place, including airfare, air travel, and all sorts of things that contributed to climate emissions, yet we were studying geospatial technologies for climate change. And this was something that we needed to somehow reconcile and reckon with, that irony. And so we ended up planting trees on the campus of the university there as a way to sort of acknowledge that part. Now, I am happy that in the realm of big data, there are people thinking about this as well. As we know, these big data just doesn't exist somewhere in some cloud, nowhere. There really are places on Earth that have a footprint of places like this. They use a lot of water, they use a lot of energy. Fortunately, there are some bright minds looking at these spaces and the where and the what and the how to try to make this a more green revolution. I just want to bring that up so that we're thinking about this as well. There's another impact to what we're talking about that we need to be thinking about and reckoning with in terms of the physical climate and the environment. The other point that I want to make is about the who and the where. And who are these data creators in this social revolution? And increasingly, we see a lot of them being citizen scientists, volunteers, as data creators, not just us as passive creators with our cell phones, but really purposefully. And can we think about this source of the data in a purposeful way, and why are we creating these things? Recently, Texas Tech was awarded $1 million from the U.S. Agency for International Development to lead a consortium of universities to do this, to look at this, and youth mapping. This is the name of our program, Youth Mappers. We have a few of us here at Texas Tech involved in that. On the PI, the other universities, West Virginia University and Washington University. So we've been working for a little more than a year on purposefully engaging young people to create spatial data through OpenStreetMap. I think it's really important to also think about big data in the open environment. That's sort of part of the ethic of it. And basically working with USAID to create data where there is no spatial data in places of the world that it's definitely needed and can be used. This is just, I want to show you a few shots of the before and after. So perhaps it does enter in the realm of big. This is Kathmandu, Nepal, before the earthquake, and after, when we had students who created this spatial data that was actually used in the efforts, humanitarian response after that earthquake last year. You can see quite a difference. This is in Bangladesh. There's a lot of detail. I put this one out because not only is it just the location data, but the attribute data. We work with university students there to add to those spatial features more information about this is not just a building, this is a school, this is whatever it is. And then this is one of the latest projects that we're still working on in Mozambique, which is with the President's Malaria Initiative and the Peace Corps. And you can see, we just held a mapathon, which is when we get everybody together and create this big data. We had in that one evening more than 26,000 features put on the map, and they will be used in a plan for the spray campaign against malaria in select number of communities there. So that leads me to my final point about this idea about big data. I think that there's this holy grail that we have that somehow big data and data leads to big decisions. Data to decision sort of trajectory that we would all like to see. It's not really a straightforward process. And one of the things that we think a lot about is, what is this for? And in the end, what kind of a difference do we want to make? And I guess encourage you to think about that.
Thank you, Dr. Sweet. All right, at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to ask each one of our panelists to kind of bring their chairs out here out front where they can face you. And then we're just going to open it up to the audience for questions. Any question you might have, don't shout them out all at once. We'll get to everybody in time. But any question you might have for any one of our panelists, please feel free to ask whatever whatever might be on your mind. So anybody got a question? We'll start with this gentleman right here.
Yes, and I think mine's probably the most elementary one that looks like to start, and that is, you hear about big data, but how would you all define it? There's a couple aspects to my question is the difference between big data and little data, are those distinctions of big data and little data, or big data and no data, and is it a cutoff point quantitatively? At some point, that this number is big and it's not, it's little, or is it a qualitative difference? And in some ways, it isn't everything big data, almost like a fractal dimension. You open it up and there's something inside that's complex, just as complex as the larger. So that's a big question, but really the question is, what is big data?
I'll take a crack at that. First of all, I'll give you my short definition that I really love from a friend of mine. It says big data is everything that we used to throw away. Now, scientists tend to think they know about data. How many of you are in the business field? Oh, that's a failure method. How many of you are active scientists working with lots of data? Okay. You probably think like I do that we know data. I mean, business folks know Excel. It is not true. A couple of years ago, in our cloud center, we sponsored a big data symposium. We do it once a year. All college. And here's what I found out: the average first-year graduate student in business can open their laptop and hit the little blue button and bring up the Ubuntu and do data analysis in the middle of their talk for a demo. Data science has moved way beyond the traditional sciences. I think that was sort of the message we're hearing from some of the others here. So in that sense, big data is everything you can throw away, all that receipt information, all that, how much time you spend working in the soup can and the aisle, that's all logged now. And people are trying to mine it primarily for economic value.
So we turn noise into information.
That might be I kind of like that. Yeah, I just put in a thermostat with 4 sensors in my house because it was tired of being up 5 in the morning cold. We didn't do that before. Now we can do it.
So let me look at the stat. I like what you said. In general, big data is a buzzword. It doesn't have a scientific definition. It's probably what your question is all about. It's evolved from technology communities. Characterized the data digital transformation is going to accelerate beyond the speed we were considering. And it's getting to this situation where the speed of the data, the popularity of the news, velocity, volume, variety, and variety, validity, value. People make up these terms, but I think from scientific point of view, as I was alluded to, we're getting to the world that is very different from what we were used to be, which we have really tried hard to gather data. There's always design of measurements, right? People try to sample. Now, in a world, we've got too much to deal with. I mean, the measurements are coming from all over places for all kinds of different purposes. Clearly, it's above our head to understand what's going on. So I think it's probably not a very useful exercise in trying to define what exactly it is. Once we figure it out, there may be some other plus term show up. Tell you the situation will be But it is very real. We're facing this very dramatic digital transformation, not only in science and technology, but also across the society. And climate science is the perfect, right, domain that cuts across the science, technology, and society. And I see big, in a sense, it's a relative. It's bigger than what you could accomplish. It's bigger than what you could have taken advantage of. Therefore, it's leading to opportunities very substantial for innovation and for discovery. So it's bigger than what you could keep up with.
And like that last point, the overwhelmingness of it, and that's kind of how I see it as well, is that it's big because it's bigger than what we can handle at the moment, or we have it pushing our ability to deal with it. And it strikes me that part of the transformation, I think the definition of big data keeps moving because, well, we never get to that point where we say data overload and we say information overload. But have we ever said knowledge overload? Are we overwhelmed by the knowledge? I wish we could get to this point, right? And but if it keeps moving, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. So.
And that's why in the big data world, especially from the business world, people are getting passionate about machine learning, machine intelligence, because we have some hope that machines can help us get all out of this sort of very crazy situation. And that's a very significant movement.
And there's some definite limitations. If I can call your attention to it, a couple of perhaps defects. Some that will come to mind immediately when you think about the importance of privacy and security and all the data being mined to get to a sort of minority report world where we walk down the street and the advertising tunes itself to you. So there are issues of privacy and security in there. And so another note of caution is the whole approach maybe not very well academically founded. Worth thinking about. Any statisticians in the room? Statisticians hate the basic premise of big data. It's actually almost antithetical to the idea of statistics, right? A properly designed experiment should be able to know its precision and accuracy of what is trying to sample based on the criteria needed to understand that data set. The idea is not to analyze everything in order to come to it. The idea is to sample properly to get the right level of precision. So, statistics and big data in its purest form are almost, sort of like, I would say, painters of the natural enemies of electricity. Think of the box. So there's sort of two different points of view, and it's worth contrasting in your particular situation. So very quickly, there are related terms as we brought up some examples, the small data, large data, messy data, noisy data. So statistics is still, buzz. So want to be watchful. Yes.
I think I like the discussion as it looks at whether or not data, just because you can collect it, is useful, right? And that's what that's Cam's getting at with respect to noise. But as a biologist, I think about our brain and our eyes collect a lot of information that we don't use. It filters out what's important for us immediately. And so I guess I think for me, what Dr. Wang was saying is that when you look at data, what we don't know are some of the ways information interacts at a scale with which we can't perceive it because we're humans. We're inside the box trying to look out at what's going on. We need to be out of the box looking in to see how things are. And we can't get out of that sort of layer cake metaphor because we're part of the process. And so I think the advantage of big data is being able to step outside the box in ways we don't understand and look at those patterns. But for me, just being able to collect a lot of data and figuring out what ads are going to be sent at me, I think is a waste of our time, to be honest. I think it's the interaction of information dealing with the questions that we can't solve yet because we don't know how things really interact. But I think is really where the big data is going to have the biggest impact.
So a quick comment on that is, so far you see, at least from scientific research point of view, you see a lot of studies showing work that validate people's understanding. Say, hey, this is consistent with what we thought was happening, from analyzing lots of data. What's not yet happening, but to be more exciting is big data help us address new questions, brand new questions we never thought about. If we have all these different measurements and they all come without too much cost at your disposal, that kind of research is, in my own opinion, more exciting, and I think that's going to be really much bigger potential than used to be conceived.
Right, that's the importance of experimental design, right? As a data scientist, data scientist is a statistician of Silicon Valley. That's spread over the world now. We're training data scientists and hopefully new ways. So, but I think it's really important for those fields that have had long experience with analyzing lots of data to bring not only their computational techniques, but their insights from experimental design. If we could train people to design the right thing, in particle physics, we get trillions of interactions per second happen in our colliders. We throw the vast majority of them away and we try to keep ones that are interesting. We get us no prices and stuff. We try to put alerts on our cell phones for this. But you worry about throwing the wrong things away, right? You throw away the graviton you've been looking for, you throw away the filters. So experimental design is a crucial piece of most fields, and it's what allows you to take this tremendous onslaught of data and turn it into. And in fields of GIS, this is especially important, right? It is an area where we clearly have the ability to generate enormous amounts of information. What is interesting, can you, probably mine says use a drone to fly over, let's say, space, say populations of cows and fly ones with temperature profiles that look like they might never see. And so again, experimental design is a key piece of this scope, and teaching people to think like data scientists or think like scientists using data, I think it's something that we can do.
For example, I showed you, if the plant biologists, we did not have the geospatial data of that variety longitudinal to understand the economic impact. We would not be asking that question in terms of ozone impact. They would stay at the laboratory level. We would have no clue to go to the real world level to address that question. So that kind of ability to pose new questions is very exciting.
I mean, there are tools that they
It's private innovation. People sit with that kind of data for new insights.
I always like working with biologists. They have this amazing capacity to ability to take your most sophisticated tools that took years to develop, right? And you show it to them and they say, "Oh, that's interesting. You can show me all the proteins with that feature. Oh, please show me all the compounds that have a feature that would fit, would match, could bind to that." It's another 10 years of work. They do it like that. So,
yes, sir. Hey, I have a question regarding the status of the big data and in relation to human behavior prediction. Because we all know that human behavior is the human is the main element of any type of system. So let's say that, for example, for speaking of the business, we do have marketing type of business. So, but this type of marketing also depends on the behavior of the human and the prediction of the behavior of the human. So, it needs to grow. So, I was wondering about the status that the relation between the big data and the condition that may have right condition that does have right now. In regard to the prediction of the human behavior, because human factors, I think it's a huge role in any type of system. Like we do have different habits that could be a huge amount of data.
think you just described the part of life that everyone's foundation series. I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Well, I can say something about that. So concerning human behavior, I think big data, just in our research, give us like some trends about what's going to happen. So when we study, like we have large data sets about the nation concerning, for example, college completion and the STEM degree choice. So when we have small data, if I go to like large school district, well, to generalize findings or to get like a national trend is going to be difficult. To say why some people, okay, do not succeed in like developmental math in school, and then why they don't choose STEM degree. Who are those people who are interested in STEM? When I have a large data set, I can have like a clearer trend in analyzing that data and saying, okay, those are nationally based on like a large insights and thousands of variables. Those are the people who would go STEM. I think that's how you get it. Large data can help in human behavior prediction.
Yeah, that's a very good example. In fact, this is a growing area. Particularly, I think industries are moving much faster, perhaps than academic folks. Well, doctors' health work is related to this as well. Understanding disease spread and how people might move around at the same time. But online platforms, search engines, Alibaba, you might have heard of the online support for small business owners. We collect a lot of data, and they are working very hard to analyze what's going on. Now, there's a good news in terms of the academic communities want to catch up with getting into this kind of research in human behavior and decision making with regards to large complex status and dynamics. NSF has a program recently released studying connected communities, smart communities and connected communities. That might be related to the kind of problems we were talking about. Another National Science Foundation program related to this is the Big Data Hub program. Because the industry now is a serious owner of big data, right? A lot of interesting data, academic folks want to look into to have part-time teams grab that data. So the academic communities have recognized this challenge. People even have stepped up and said, hey, the academic communities also should have our own infrastructure of big data for us to look into the data we need to make scientific progress. So this nationwide regional big data hubs are already, for the first round award, in place. Now the second round is to develop what is called big data spoke hub, spoke, going to different scientific communities and grand challenges. And I know, for instance, the smart connected communities, which is booming behavior influence phenomena, at a larger scale. There are some research performed there, so big data hub spoke effort, so that you could first, right, get access to the data in order to pose these questions. So the academic communities I think catching up. There are to some degree disadvantaged in terms of data access and also collaborate with each other to work on similar data. It's not just the data. I'm completely with we were discussing this yesterday. Behind the scenes, of course, enormous paradigm shift is taking place in how we look at the data. I want to focus on one aspect of that, which is that we learned that more control you can give to users to set their own environments and control them better. And techniques that have been developed over the years, including some of the referred to, of cluster and shared and held and giving it enough largely by cloud. That's the answer by which the question that raised others. With a failure, it actually was a tremendous success. The bulk of scientific community is still doing that. But the bulk of computing in the world has moved on to other techniques. One of the things that we've been discussing is our mutual interest in, you may notice that I actually run a cloud computing center too. We started 5 years ago, specifically to intersect with computing and learn and share these techniques. So what we want to do is,
ideally combine the access to data with increasing flexibility tools. You yourself should be able to control the environment with some of these newer tools that gives you complete control over what software is installed, what's available. You don't have to worry about what version you have installed in the cluster. Now, there's some huge challenges. Funding, getting the funding agencies to pay attention to the right problems. Ourselves learning the techniques. In some cases, we invented this whole field of large-scale computing. 10 years ago, only scientists did this. Now I can tell you for a fact we're a minority of the world's computing users. And we need to adapt and change that. So someone has done a very interesting project, combining multiple modalities of delivery as well as getting access to the data. I have my own projects along those lines. There are others. And we're trying to see if we can sort of align things like we did in the free computing to be able to deliver scientific cloud computing. You yourself can control your environment and decide how to scale it. One of the other challenges is money. Amazon will give you lots of computing if you give them credit. You guys are used to that.
I would like to add to that because it's a brilliant trajectory. It's not just about the data, it's not just about the infrastructure, but it's also, I think, with respect to the human behavior, especially spatial behavior in particular, it's a theory about how we are as human beings. The social science part behind it, we have not kept up with all of these, innovations and technology. We still don't necessarily have new theories about how people do, how they behave at different scales. Individually behave differently in groups, because in bigger groups, the scales at which people make decisions is often incongruent with the information and the data that they have to input those decisions, and their accountability as they get different scales. And I are actually writing about is sort of that incongruence between the data for decisions at that scale, which is available to them, and the scale at which they make those decisions and are accountable for those decisions. So I think our social theories, that's just one example, they are not really keeping up with this revolution yet either. We have a long way to go. A way to get further is to do like what we're doing with the Climate Science Center and Shelley is also doing, is having interdisciplinary groups, to try to engage in I think it's critical for climate change in particular because it's one of those very contentious questions socially as well. Trying to make those predictions that we not find
So simple, all we need is lots of data, lots of new computing techniques, lots of theories, and experimental design underlying it, lots of investment, funding cooperation, and money.
Yes, sir.
I just want to point it out about the uncertainty of data because right now everyone's catching data. Doesn't matter how. So, and when you see models, you can see right now in the web a lot of models about ASICs. But it's really scared model that shows the uncertainty of the model. It's really scared the model that shows math behind and shows how that was created. So it's in GIS, for example, we can see a really good map with colors in red, talking about climate, for example. But what about the data? How it was collected? What is the uncertainty of the data that we included there? So I think that it's just like we are advancing really fast on that, but we need to be careful about how we create models and how we include the data. I think that in a lot of models and in a lot of the work that you can see, people don't talk too much about uncertainty. And I think that math is totally important.
Can I change? So I think the uncertainty, maybe I just argue from either data point perspective. So
So we use the map all the time. So, but let's see, for example, the final measure the temperature. All we probably read the reading and all the numbers. Ideally, because the reading of this measure is affected by too many uncontrollable factors, right? So ideally, you report the number and then you report certain level how we like it, right? But you just usually the scientific way to prove the chemical chemical scientists or physical scientists usually do that. Make the measurements and report the results. But when you come to speeder data, come to the map, people think in all these parts, right? So you have let's see the land use land power data or these parts, and this part is probably the glass. And when you make, if you get in the data, probably you have 30 by 30 meters region, if it's glass land, and then legally part of glass land. And then another question, just take the data and you know where this glass land has been classified, based upon what it can for every zone, or how the data can be performed. Right? And the final design model probably use this data as equal and make projection. And then the point is that how to access these uncertainties and the propagation is some important part. Some person actually working on that already, and people realize that's one early work, and we need to be more like the pollution model, right? How you have the data, and then you describe where this data comes from, how many analyzers have been done, and then you can somehow to quantify the uncertainty. And then when we do that, we do analysis on this data and into the uncertainty.
This is it's a very important point you brought up. It's really complicated what we said. But I think you are highlighting a broader issue that is we generally refer to as the cyclicality in science reproducibility. So there is data problems you could have perhaps what's done on a piece of data. Right? But when the big data is all over the map, people now, scientists in general, are challenged significantly to understand how do we even make sure a piece of science could be reproduced. Because they got access, rules are associated, theories are behind it. You put all these pieces together, tailor to a specific study, it's very difficult for yet another scientist to understand how this process could be done. So in terms of the entire scientific enterprise, what I could tell is the foundation. That's why it's so exciting to be in this room, because we have an opportunity to rethink of that foundation in this very dynamic digital evolution or transformation we've seen in the past decade or more. So I think that's perhaps sort of behind the message you were talking about uncertainty, because this is the fundamental shift have to be resolved.
Thinking in that maybe it was this touched on, which is very important, not just uncertainty, but potential bias and incorrectness. Actually, if you step back from this, quite a long distance, you recognize this is a problem. We probably should wrap up, but a problem that science has dealt with for a long time. And we deal with it by citation and reference, so that we can understand the source of information and compensate for potential problems in the study that doesn't correct those citations. Correct. So citation for data and citation for algorithms for scientific methods, publishing code in citable ways and referenceable ways to credit, and also tracks the software we use, data citation, data sets, data publication. These are all emerging areas, and we're realizing that it's at least important, probably actually far more important than the citation.
The data publication is now increasingly available for journals, and even some journals start publishing software associated with data. If they don't have the software working with the data, you might not be able to produce more stuff right? So when you publish a study, you should be able to publish the data. Increasingly, people are requiring, some funding agencies are requiring. And we are working with close to finishing up on a research data repository here specifically for cycle data, not for scratch stuff we do for, but for that kind of archival data. And there are other emerging tools and techniques that Globus organizations work with. Other research data alliance, for example, the emerging would be very important parts of how we do science and other national data service.
You had a quick question?
No, I just say, we do have to wrap up because of other use for this class.
All right, I want to thank everybody for coming. A lot of information, very helpful. Let's give a round of applause for our panel.